And welcome back to the PCS Summer Split Playoffs. Right now, we are on the precipice of seeing history repeat itself with Deep Cross Gaming up 2-0, match point over FAK Esports. But before we get into our pre-match discussion or pre-game discussion for what could be the final time tonight, I want to shout out our sponsor, CTBC Bank and China Airlines, for being with us for this playoffs. Now, Mr. Nightstar, I know that both of us have been Frank believers, and it has been a shocker, but they have made a change while they stay on the blue side. They've actually made a roster swap. Does anyone remember Kurt? Because he's back.
He's back, boys. This is probably the surprise of a lifetime for everyone. Because Kurt coming back in, we did not see him this entire split. I'm sure most people even forgot he was a player on the roster. But I think the changes here in this case is, well, Kurt, if he dies a couple times up top side, you're not concerned because you're not playing these carry top laners. I think the pivot most key here is that they needed to team fight in game number 2. That's where they got outworked. And Kurt plays more of the team fight champion pool. He plays the Ornn, he plays the Nard, he plays the Gragas. Maybe they don't look that great, but he's had a whole split to figure things out. And practicing against YSKM can make you play better too.
I mean, that's got to be like some hyperbolic time chamber shenanigans, right? You get to play against who is one of the best top lanes. He can only improve, you have to think. So, with that set in mind, let's see how it changes the draft strategy for FAK Esports on blue side here. They ban the Yuumi, they ban the Taliyah. You see it be all bot focused by Deep Cross Gaming. No Kalista, no Sivir. And there's that Poppy banned away.
Poppy being banned out. Silas also being banned away. So that was really the champion I was thinking of for that first pick. Lucian left available. And it could also be something like an Azir. I think their pivot should be more to that teamfight playstyle. So if you want to go for the Philios, well, now you have the ability to play an Ornn and an Azir to layer on top of him to then let Eminem succeed. But now the clear target is then for DCG. You can play strong side top because of that and just play more side lane focus. Get the Mordekaiser in his hands, in the hands of Leaky, and just own the 1v1 up top side and transition that into a 3-0 sweep.
Well, the Wukong comes through as it has been let open for Hana. We'll see if the Mordekaiser, well, maybe not taking it right now, but see if they match on bot or if they do something very differently here. Deep Cross Gaming. Lucian. That's the choice.
Lucian comes out once more. For Frankie's
well outside lane phase. I do got to credit Kriskata and Woody for coming back in after actually having a hard time in that lane phase. And Fiora hover.
I mean, this is just, you know, shouting out YSKM because this would be the permaban against them when he is in the roster. But because it's Kurt, you're looking for more team fight. Ornn is the answer in that regard.
It would have been so weird if they actually had locked the Fiora. It's like, wait, is Kurt just getting out of the chair? Is it going to be YSKM stepping in? No, the Ornn makes a whole lot of sense. I didn't think the Lulu was bad either for carries, so all of a sudden there's a little bit more protection. The front to back is there, and this 2v2 in the bot lane did go in favor of Eminem and carries last time around, so I think they're fine with this.
Yeah, the 2v2 looked a lot better. Now going into the second phase for FAK Esports, they might need to ban away the Fiora themselves because Leaky could, I'm not sure if he has it in his wheelhouse, but that is certainly a possibility, and there's really not much Ornn can do in that matchup anyways. The key takeaway that could also happen from the side of DCG is they go ahead, ban the Azir. I think this would be the perfect Azir game. Right, you have some playmaking potential with it, with the shuffle early on, but then you also, because you have the Ornn and you have the Philios, you just play front to back and you most likely just easily win these games, especially when you have more range than something like this Lucian pick.
Mordekaiser now being banned out by Frank, so the focus shifting to the topside matchup, trying to give Kurt best shot he's got. Of course, you have to respect some of these pocket picks of Leaky's.
Okay, Nocturne. All right,
Yeah,
trying
there
to
we
move
go.
a little bit of dive. Interesting.
We saw Frank pull this out in previous series as well. I believe that was actually in their opening round against
Yeah, it was
CFO.
against
I think that was the
CFO.
game they won.
The one game that they did snag away. And now we'll see what the final ban will be. Probably yet another top lane ban. It's going to be the Aatrox, so it does leave Fiora left available. You can go Gwen, you could go Gnar. If you want to be more lane dominant, Gnar makes a little bit more sense. It's going to be Gnar. It's going to be Gnar. Surely.
Just taking the time, and there's the lock in.
All right, cool.
All right, so what do you add to this? What do you give Nesty to round things out? You have the counter pick now.
Here you can look for an engage angle. You could go for the Lissandra. Depends on the lane, of course. And for Frank Esports, you're looking for just more team fighting champions.
Okay, I mean, if that's what you want, then I do not dislike the Trundle in this particular case, though.
Trundle's not an issue either, right? Because if Lucian does dash forward, you throw down the pillar, and Lucian has no escape tools left. It does offer, of course, another piece of terrain for Gnar to slam you into the wall. And there we go. Yeah, this clearly needed to be the adaptation, is just lock up the Azir. They had the option to play Azir in the previous game. They opted into the Kali, did not work out whatsoever. DCG, this is last pick for their mid laner, and it goes to the Ahri. Once more, I look at DCG's composition. It's all about this early mid game because of the playmaking potential and early team fighting. But late game is very, very much in favor of Frank Esports, and it's not like they don't have the tools to team fight earlier as well.
It's going to come down to execution, and I think for Frank Esports, they have struggled. A little bit of a failure to launch in Game 1, and Game 2, just getting blindsided in a couple of key fights, ended their hopes prematurely. That's why they find themselves about to get clean swept and have made this change. Put Kurt in, much more team fight oriented, and giving themselves a much better front to back in a late game scaling. We will see if it's enough for them. If they can survive the early game, come right back into it, they would have to reverse sweep this one, Nightstar. I know you still got the faith.
I do have the faith in the adaptations. It's just a matter of execution, because we saw adaptations come out in game number 2. They weren't able to fully execute around them. DCG as well adapted to those changes in game number 2 and adapted really well. Now it's going to be more of just kind of headbutting each other. I think that's what it's going to come down to, because these are very much compositions that do want to clash head on. But Frank Esports, like, I love the scaling on this composition. Can they hit those breakpoints is the real question.
And can they survive it out in the laning phase, right? Because they are playing a little bit on the weak side, at least in that top, and potentially, at least in theory, in that bottom. But they got the better 2v2 last time around. So I think Frank have to be feeling at least a little confident in that arena, despite the fact that they are down in the series. Remember what these teams are fighting for. This is an elimination match. The lower bracket, the winner moves forward to face off against whoever comes out in the brawl between PSG Talent and J-Team. And the loser goes home and does not have a shot at Worlds. As we get onto the Rift for this game number 3.
Game number 3. Frank Esports, they need to reverse sweep in order to continue on in the bracket. And the most important change here, not just compositionally, but play-wise, has to be them getting deep into DCG's jungle, getting tracking down onto Hana, because that's what Beyond Gaming were able to do non-stop. It was Kusha, one of our best tracking junglers, constantly invading with the rest of his team to set up bot side coverage and prevent Cruscata and Woody ever from playing the game, able to set up dives. And that's why Beyond Gaming were able to just wipe DCG out of the upper bracket so quickly.
Maybe they've learned from that one. looking for redemption. Deep Cross Gaming came in as the #2 seed and got upended, got surprised by the Beyond Gaming side. They've been the ones doing the surprising today. I think, well, I know you and I didn't predict them to win this one. I thought it'd be fairly close back and forth. Deep Cross so far have had the upper hand, even if Frank have been coming alive in game 2. Pretender now turning around damage on Nesty, finding a lot on the Sand Soldiers. Nesty doesn't look quite as comfortable on the Nine-Tailed Fox, it seems.
Level 2 hit again down in bot lane too.
Oh, this is nice for M&M and carries. They're finding so much damage. You gotta be careful not to step too far forward, though. Criscata can still pump you full of damage.
Not only pump you full of damage with his kit, he also has Ignite. So he's the one
true.
rocking Ignite in this lane rather than Woody. And that's a big trade there to help even things out for these supports.
Letting the wave crash into them, keeping it up on the farm. Once again, I feel like the kill threat could happen at any time.
Yeah, and of course the key target is level 2 is still in favor for Aphelios Lulu, but when level 3 ticks, that's when there's a ton of kill threats coming in from Woody and Criscata on the Lucian Nami. So
Hollow doesn't
that's
want
a
to let
big
that
target
happen,
point. And with where the wave is, it will be a bit of a tough fight to actually pull off the 2v2 kill with the extra minions hammering you.
Okay, pop the Scryer's Bloom, realize Hana must be topside. Scuttle secure, they're not going to go in for a dive. Level 3 Trundle, and is actually going to pass by Ward himself. So both teams have eyes, or at least information, on the junglers. Meanwhile, checking in at top, I think big surprise was seeing Kurt back in this series. He is so far forced under tower, but maybe this is just because he does play these big potato tanks, more team fight oriented. We've not actually seen that at all from YSChem. It has been carries or bust.
Yep, it has been a very clear focus. Level 3 ticks, plenty of damage.
He's on his own right now as a roam from carries. Does mean that he has to walk it out. Doesn't burn either of his summoners, though, so he does get away.
Yeah, and I feel like that was probably just M&M saying, you know, even if they try and jump onto me, I'm probably okay, but this could be a flash bubble.
Might be. M&M doesn't know he's on a ward right now. Carries comes in to join. Hollow could be there at a moment's notice, but maybe not soon enough.
Double bubble.
Still not that healthy. Let's see if he gets the twofer. Not going to go for it. I think they might realize Hollow's around, even if they can't see him. Playing it safe. Or are they? Yeah, the jig's up.
Nicely done coming in from DCG, though, because that's a lot of time burned by Hollow in that bottom lane. Now they even have Hana here to back him up to make sure this crash does eventually go through. And solid start for DCG, mitigating some of the, laning phase that didn't go well for them, but carries okay.
Big burst of damage. The bubble is going to land on M&M. Not able to really punish him more for that. Yeah, they're out of mana on Criscata, but Hana can show up and threaten the dive anyways, which means M&M and carries have to back away, and that might result in a plate.
Result in a plate. Also might result in maybe an early dragon. As so far, Kurt is holding up, Of course, he is on the Ornn, so laning shouldn't be an issue, but level 6 dinged by Leaky. He's not mega, though, so he doesn't have the ult available. That's why Kurt's still fine in this position.
He's held his own pretty well. Absolutely. I think it's, it would be easy to look at the differences between Spring Split and conclude it could be a problem, but they do combo up, even though the Ram Jam doesn't go through. A flash chomp means Holo gets first blood.
Easy setup for Frank Esports. Yes, the Miss Ultimate is actually going to cost Holo decent chunk here because he has to expend the flash to secure the kill, but you'll still take the kill nonetheless, and it happens topside. However, they need to transition into more Pyra. We need to see Hollow get aggressive into the enemy jungler because so far not a lot of pressure has been applied onto Hana. He will still be able to farm up, get level 6, and become that better team fight champion than the Trundle later on.
That's true. That is where the scaling maybe flips a little bit in favor of Deep Cross, but the late game still definitely feeling good for Frank once they get there. If they get there, it hasn't been the case, guaranteed for sure. However, early in this game, Nesty, Hana looking for Scuttle Crab Hollow, and Kurt are there as well. Yeah, I think we could be in for one. Blue buff aggro, there's no Herald. I mean, they're not necessarily fighting for anything, they're just fighting. Leaky almost has that big Gnar, and I think they might just try to contest this one. Smite down, nope, secured, but he can't gift it over to Pretender, and I think Deep Cross will take that.
Yeah, it's a blue buff denied away from the Azir, and it's also just the extra gold from the crab.
Dash into carries! Oh boy, takes a lot of damage as they miss the bubble. Eminem doesn't have Moonlight Vigil. Criscata realizes he's got to back away. 3 summoners burned by them. Tried to secure one of those kills, and they get neither.
And now Red White shows up, so Kill Pressure does sweep.
Well, Tender, he gets to sweep himself. Nesty, that's a charm, however.
Hana's here, not 6.
Hana's here. Okay. Still enough to at least push them back. Nesty knows
now
he can't stick around, and with the ding, he moves in, forces the flash Pretender, flashes forward himself, gets a second charge of his Cyclone, and secures a kill for himself, basically solo here, as Holos come through the pillars on Bubble to deny. Criscata going low, going, and he's out of there.
Not enough move speed, and now they could look to turn things.
No calling,
doesn't have the ultimate, though.
Yeah. Man, very close calls both the way, but I think it speaks volumes. Deep Cross are able to do this in 2v3. Meanwhile, Leaky gets the shove onto Kurt, but he knocks himself up, and the Forge God's calling as he flashes away. Kurt almost getting the outplay onto Leaky. I think it's safe to say this player's definitely grown.
Only down 5 CS as well. This is fantastic start for the top laner of Frankie Esports, because the last time we did see him, we were heavily critical of his lane phase. And as things stand, the team fight looks to still be on pace to come online for Frankie Esports. For DCG, they are making things happen, right? They were able to punish Pretender going a little bit too far, trying to go for the all-in because he ran out of mana. Hana able to get the level 6 kill onto him, burning the flash as well. So Pretender might be the target in the next little bit for DC to target.
I think you're right. And they are focusing on Herald right now, but there's a lot more members of Deep Cross here. Carries spots it, but cannot do anything to contest as the rest of the team isn't there. So Deep Cross making moves. They have a slim gold advantage and some tempo now, thanks to the Rift Herald secure. Dragon hasn't even been so much as looked at this game, as there's a Mountain starting first. And Frank Esports, they don't want to give away any advantages. They want to get themselves to the late game team fight front-to-back comp, and Deep Cross don't have a big lead built up on them just yet, although they flip a little bit of gold. You can see it's about 800 ST into the Sand Soldiers, but he finds the charm into the orb. Hana, Woody around as well, but Nesty getting fired on. Holo's pushed back. Nesty very low. Has to walk away.
Little 3v3 action here that actually gets them priority around this dragon area, and if they secure this first dragon, that is huge for them because it is the mountain dragon. Make them a lot more durable, especially into DCG's composition, which seems to be a lot more front loaded, very alt reliant. You can survive that first burst.
That's that pillar up there, and he tries to fight it out, but he knows he's a dead man, just to get as much damage as he can before he goes down. Holo clubs him to the head, and now
should be dragon.
Frank's back on top of it. Yeah, should be. I think they might be eyeballing the tower instead, looking to shove the wave and get themselves plates.
Oh, it's just going to be a reset instead, knowing that, hey, Eminem's heavily chunked, but it also means they won't be able to turn for the dragon. It's just going to be a reset of the situation, and we will have a revisit down into this bottom half of the map once more. And the key cooldown is how long are we able to stall things out? Because top laners are starting to get close to that teleport being available, right? So if we buy enough time, maybe we just bring both of these teleports in. We know Kurt is very willing to teleport early on to make sure he is there at the start of the fight, and he is on the Ornn, so his showcase, of course, is using that ultimate in teamfight settings.
Yeah, and he's getting himself up in the tank department as well, right? Completes his level 2 boots, is already sitting on the Warden's Mail, and the Bomby Cinder. So, you know, kind of a couple different item components.
He's just walking down.
He's getting the value, and actually, yeah, taking the long route. All right. Hey, it's good for you.
The other possibility is we just walk straight for this objective. We secure it quickly, and then I can just teleport straight back to the tower. So that's another way to approach this fight from the side of Frank Esports, and that's what it looks like they want to do. Hollow with the pillar can cut someone off, doesn't get the right angle though, as Woody will be able to walk away, and now they have knowledge that Kurt is here. So for Frank Esports, they have to start it now.
They are going to do it. Should be able to secure that one, and the teleport's channeled by Kurt to come back and try to catch the wave. He'll be able to do it, but nonetheless,
great pickup.
Yeah, Deep Cross, they weren't really expecting that, but they do stop themselves from going down in the ensuing fight. However, Carry's taken a little bit low, and the Rift Herald popped in mid. While Pretender wasn't quite there, means that it gets a few extra swipes.
Yeah, gold into, I believe, Hana's pocket is looking for
Woody.
the collapse here.
So
they have
close.
numbers advantage. Hana is in that bottom side, and now Nesty starting to make his way over. This is what we didn't see before when he was playing the Ahri. Now he's going to have that opportunity here, and it does look like they'll just walk away. Eminem. Yeah. This time around in a repeat rematch of this dual lane, not looking as great as they did in game 2.
No, and I think also the Gale Force being completed first by Chris Cotta means that he can't quite fight it out the way he'd like to. That another plate nearly falls, but they'll save it. And Deep Cross Gaming, they're stacking up gold, but they did lose out on that first dragon. It will be a Hex Tech coming up next. And speaking of plates, Nesty was able to get quite a few for himself on that Rift Herald drop in the mid. Not bad.
Yeah. The big thing here for Frank Esports is that they're not that far behind, and the Mountain Dragon stats will also help mitigate the gold differential as well. So they still feel like they're in a comfortable spot to still hit those team fight marks. And that second dragon will of course be really important, because that's where they'll start getting these items online, and maybe when, you know, their scaling plays a bigger factor. Of course, at one item, definitely not the same as DCG's one item.
No, that is definitely the case. In Deep Cross, they have to play within a timing window. Worth reminding everybody, the composition that Frank built, it is meant to accelerate into the late game. They have a great 5v5 when it comes down to it between the Azir and the Aphelios, and everything else in between. Everyone fighting over this red. The bubble does land onto Hollow. Doesn't really matter much, as they were looking to fight over this red buff. And Deep Cross realized this isn't an easy pick. They're going to back off and let that one get secured by Hollow. A lot of fights over blues and reds and jungle objectives this game.
The only issue for Frank Esports is that all of these fights aren't happening on your side of the map. You're playing a very more defensive manner, whereas when we saw it happen with the side of Beyond Gaming, their success was just constantly invading DCG's half of the map. And that slowed down Hana and his jungle and forced them to play a lot more tempered, right? Because if you're constantly getting invaded, you never know when there's a 4-stack in the bush. So it requires you to play a lot more measured, and that's what's happening to Hollow, even though he has a 2-kill advantage.
Yeah, may not last too much longer. The root and charm does land. They actually pump some damage into Pretender. Nesty starting to find his footing on this Ahri. Didn't look quite as comfortable in the lane phase, but now he's opening right back up, and they will move as a unit again. Deep Cross, this is their strength. This is a team that just understands how to make map movements together. No hesitation from them very clearly. They have been picking up a leaf out of the CFO book, and Pretender getting caught forces out the wild growth. That's an opportunity for Frank to fight it back, though, as they keep him alive. And
Ornald up.
Moonlight Vigil spent, doesn't do nearly enough. Nesty does get taken a little bit low, and Frank still forced into the choke. Means that Cullen can come out, flips Eminem. Herald looking to reset. Ooh, actually gets picked up by Frank. They catch it.
Now sides have sort of swapped. It looks like a DCG, they'll let them have the second Herald, but they will take this mid tower instead.
Looking for it. The Emperor's Divide does actually push onto Han, and he gets taken down in the aftermath. Meanwhile,
that's a 2.
Eminem takes out Friscata. What was happening on both sides of the map? Deep Cross, I just praised them. What about a caster curse? They split focus and lose out both sides.
Yeah, and not only that, they get the Rift Arrow, they'll be able to get this mid-tower, and that will also allow them to reset with this extra gold to then come back and contest this Hextech Dragon, which is massive, because if they're able to steal away this Hextech Dragon, that would be them well on their way to getting to that team fight phase. Leaky trying to break this tower will be able to do so, but now maybe Kurt, low on mana, will try and take the 1v1. It doesn't look like it. Leaky, of course, with these hyper stacks, will be able to slowly chase him down.
Yeah, I think he's got him in the solo. Leaky does manage to take down the Ornn at the very least, so a consolation prize. It does burn flash for flash, as you're right. The reset comes through. Frank, though, on their own reset, not nearly as fast to try and set up for this dragon. Let's take a look at the fight from this perspective. And it was Kriskata that gets bursted, and Eminem finds a final shot even as he flashes to what he thinks is safety, as we had seen the other side of it with Pretender getting the outplay there. So, Deep Cross do get in position for this dragon, and they'll steal it away from under the nose of Frank.
Yeah, of course, the Ornn not quite respawned.
Oh, dash and Eminem. Oh, wait for him to burn his own cleanse before the charm lands. What a brilliant layering of CC. Nest T opening up.
Great use of the chain CC coming in from DCG. And the teamwork is still there. They are finding their moments, and Eminem gets picked off once more.
Deep chain CC gaming, apparently. As we have an Infernal Rift hitting the map now. 18 minutes on the clock. Dragon split, one apiece. Deep Cross picking up that Hextech off the back of the solo play by Leaky, giving them a numbers advantage. Completed his his Trinity Force as well. Had gone the early boots this game. Yeah, now that Nar's going to be a little bit of a side lane threat. Kurt, focused on the 5v5, won't be able to match.
Yeah, does have his Mythic completed at the very least, so, you know, even though he is down 50 CS, slowly but surely Leaky is gaining advantages, but at the same time, you know what the Ornn will be able to do in these fights. And he didn't give away too much during the early phase, which has been the more critical part. Now, you see him falling more and more behind because he is making these rotations. He is trying to help out his squad. And once he, as long as he's able to still catch EXP, that is still going to be a big factor, because then he can start donating those Ornn items.
Yeah, that is a value too, right? Like, it's not about falling behind on your own. It's about getting your team ahead by virtue of the extra item, utility, and numbers. And not only that, he still has the team fight versatility and utility. Here it comes, the call of the Forge God looking to catch Kriskata, does find him, but the wave is going to keep them slowed down. Frank can't chase it on. They do get ult for ult trade though, yeah.
Ult for ult trade, not too shabby.
Yeah, they chase him off the push. I mean, that's the big thing. Deep Cross is fully committed to trying to find a pick there in that jungle.
It's a lot of attention being thrown down to a very low HP mid tower, right? And everyone trying to do the most to either knock it down or prop it up. This time it will eventually get knocked down. Hana on the flank could be scary. Eminem
not gonna commit.
And the big thing is the fact that Pretender does.
Ooh.
Kurt gets his ankles broken. Doesn't have the ult available, so even if they wanted to make a play on the Leaky, wouldn't be able to pull it off. Big thing, Pretender has completed 2 items, has the Shadow Flame, so he's going to do a ton of burst damage in this next fight. Also has the crown, so he can go very aggressively forward as long as he doesn't have the crown pop. So for DCG, the best way to deter that is to use the culling, or just even a W from the Lucian Ardent Blaze onto Pretender to pop that early on, and that really hampers Frank Esports' ability to pull the trigger on the next fight. Only 3k gold down though.
Yeah, it's been growing, but a lot slower clip than it has been in these other games, right? So at the moment, Deep Cross, they have the advantages. We're starting to see the Ornn items come out. That first one is going to be completed by Kurt himself, is of course the Rhymeforged Grasp. Just like such metal names for the Ornn upgrades, right?
Yeah, and
there's got to be a new Pentakill album with all these names. Yeah, true too. Yeah, he's got the 2 item completion to stand up in these fights.
A lot of armor stacked up will do a lot of wonders in this next fight, as long as he doesn't eat too much damage coming in from the Ahri. Ari does, of course, do true damage as well. So magic resistance, not going to do as much as it would against some other mid laners. And as well, Nesty on the Ari, he doesn't really want to dump his entire toolkit into a champion like Ornn, who is just already so robust.
Leaky just continuing to make life hard for Kurt here. 2-level advantage. And even though tanking through tower shots, Leaky still getting better than he's giving. My goodness, right now, this is pretty big for Deep Cross Gaming as they just keep muscling into the jungle, keeping the waves cleared, the wards cleared, looking to set up and take that dragon, leave Frank in the dark, as they have a bunch of members here. But Holo gets caught, forced to flash away, Coling channeled, teleport burned, Leaky about to get that mega. Deep Cross realized they'd bitten off a little more than they could chew, perhaps, going to reset and rejoin with Nesty.
That's a chase opportunity. Going to come through. And
10 seconds on Dragon.
Yeah, Dragon about to come up on a line. 5 seconds.
RTP.
They should go ahead and start that out right when it spawns and just have Leaky start building up Mega off of it, as that's exactly the plan.
Gonna try to zone Frank off, though. You see Cascada,
Tender.
Nesty around the side. They're gonna turn this one into a massive cyclone, but the push away defensive move from Pretender. He can't quite close this one. Kurt getting that knock up on Nesty. Do they have the damage? Hana taken low in this, but not done down just yet. There goes Hollow, the first casualty
Pretender
of this fight. Pretender looks for the flank, but he's already used his big tools. Leaky goes in, getting an R back. They find Kurt, eats the damage, taken out by Nesty. The chase is on. Eminem, he cleanses through, but maybe a little too late as he gets hit by the orb on the back half. The double kill. Nesty on the chase, looking for more as he goes golden. Might have gone too far, but he flashes forward, getting a triple kill into the charm, and he will get out scot-free.
Oh my god, the play coming in from Nesty is just way too good. His Pretender is going to get locked down, and he will go down as well.
Cascada falls, but it doesn't matter. They don't even need the dragon right now, Nightstar. They'll go back to get it for sure. But Deep Cross clean up that fight at only the cost of their bot lane.
Looks like DCG, they are well on their way to a 3-0 sweep, as we get to see the replay. Execution, Kurt is trying to get onto Nesty when his goal should have just been to occupy this choke point. He flashes into the bush. That's, again, not where you want to be. You want to just sit in front of your squad, front line for them, and give more space to Pretender. But because everyone starts pulling upwards, right, that's away from Pretender. So he misses out on such a large opportunity to just do more damage. So the execution, I mean, the setup was there for Frank Esports. The execution was not.
Yeah, and the execution was absolutely there for Deep Cross, even though the setup wasn't, and they got it. Everything they wanted. They didn't get the dragon just yet, though. However, as we are coming back in for round number 2,
Ult's back up.
Eats up a little bit. Ult is back up and available if they want to use it. That dragon's going to get procced here as Frank sticking together as a 5-man squad. Watch the wraparound from Hana, though.
You also need to watch for the Narbar. I waited it out, but
boy, here he goes once again. A great setup into the Gnar. That call, the Forge God does knock up a few, but there's just no follow through. Eminem trying to stay alive through it all as he finds Nesty on the opposite side, but Hana comes through to give him some relief, and Holo is left out in the dark, left in the cold. Pretender now going to be isolated. Nesty nearly bites it, but it doesn't matter in the end. They still take him down. Do not lose a member. Deep Cross, they've executed these nearly flawlessly.
The decisiveness is so much better coming in from DCG in this series than comparatively to 2 days ago against Beyond Gaming. They'll be able to secure themselves as Baron.
Now forget the dragon.
Them to almost a 12,000 gold lead. And I mean,
out of nowhere, Nesty has just been stacking up kills, and I looked away from his item builds for like a minute, and he's already got a 20-stack Medjais. Let's take a look at that fight again. This was just a great setup. The wraparound. This was actually the first fight, or the first phase of the fight, but then Hana fully wraps around the pit
here
as the ward expires. They have no idea he's here.
Yep. And it's just decisiveness, though. You can already see them slowly creeping up, and I like the positioning better this time from Kurt. But because the fight happened so quickly, like, that was an instance where a Pretender goes forward in that instance, they're able to delete the back line and just sort of
right back into the action.
Leave Phyllis out to dry. But objective up still, so they're still trying to fight.
They really are. However, Kurt's going to be caught right now, and he eats a whole channel to Culling as he tries to get away. And into the back line, you can see ST is able to take him out, and Holo falls as well. No smite. They just keep trying to fight this dragon, but it keeps being their doom, their nemesis. And Deep Cross Gaming make it once, make it twice, make it 3 times for the ace. And they don't even need the objective. They're going for the end. They're going for gold and for the sweep twice this year, knocking FAK Esports out of playoff contention.
Oh, that should... Well, okay. I think it will be the end. I'm not sure if they have enough damage to just plow through. Of course,
8 seconds?
They could. Yeah, the death timers are kind of lengthy. Yeah.
And they got the Baron.
Kurt will be up, so... Yeah, I think that's just it. That's it.
After all that,
they go down back to back.
Making all the changes, but it just wasn't enough. Deep Cross decisiveness earns them a clean sweep victory. And how about that for a bounce back after being knocked to the lower bracket?
Woo! Complete night and day coming in from DCG. And FAK Esports, you know, at a certain point you have to make a change, right? Because things were not working out with their one strat. So you have to respect them for going a little bit bolder, bringing in Kurt when we haven't seen him all split. But in the end, it's sort of just grasping at straws, right? There's a reason why we haven't seen Kurt all split, and unfortunately, while he was able to bring in the team fight champion of Ornn, FAK Esports haven't played around this sort of team composition all year, so they did look quite out of sorts and fully executing around the gameplay.
What a fantastic set of games from Deep Cross, though. Just every single time it came down to the better execution, the 5v5s, the numbers advantages, knowing where they were strong, when they were strong, and choosing their fights, choosing their engages. FAK Esports were just slower to react, weren't as decisive, and it punished them multiple times in each one of these games. I think there were chances for them to come back in game 2. They nearly had it, and then in game 3 it looked like they had a lot of chances to come back in, but Deep Cross were just greater than the sum of their parts, and I think FAK are going to have to take a lot from that loss, learn as much as they can, and look to come back stronger next year.
It's going to be a bit of an off season for them. I'd love for them to retain a lot of the pieces, though, because you have that veteranship coming in from Eminem. Of course, Rebirth is still on the roster. Maybe if they give him another year, they'll see more development coming in that regard. But when we look at the draft, once again came down to this Aphelios pick, 3 games in a row. The fact that we harp on B1 Vi 2 days ago, we also have to then come back and harp on this Aphelios priority coming in from FAK Esports, that they never played around until game number 3, at least draft wise. But in game number 3 they still didn't play well enough around it, because that's a strategy they haven't played around all year.
There just wasn't enough execution polish. I think we had a lot of hype for FAK because of the way they closed out their second round robin. They looked very, very strong and had started to utilize... Yeah, the talent was just there, but it seems like in these drafts, some of their weaknesses have been exposed a little bit more, and it comes down to not adapting fast enough in between games, but also not adapting fast enough to when your game plan is clearly not working out in a game. We saw multiple issues rear their head there. YSCam being camped in the last series and a little bit in this one in game 1. Then when they made the change to Kurt, the positioning wasn't quite what they needed, and that's sometimes what happens. Also just not respecting what the Wukong can do with those Cyclones, forcing the defensive plays on the Emperor's Divide. It means Pretender just can't do much in the back half of this fight, and Deep Cross have just way better target prioritization.
Yeah, I felt like early on they should have been a little bit more aggressive with the ultimate usage, but I think they overcompensated, saying, hey, we need to protect this Aphelios if we're playing Aphelios. And then Pretender, when early on in the game they don't have that much damage to burst you out, especially after you complete the crown, you should be able to go back and shuffle them and get multi-man shuffles and just kill them. Like, the stark difference would be seeing Gort. on that 1 a.m. completion, he's for sure going into the back line, especially when you have an item like Shadow Flame. It's all about that one-hit wonder with the ultimate rather than the staying power, where if you're going to stick around and fight front to back, a Gnasher's Tooth is going to give you a lot more value. So we get to see once more Hana getting into great flank position, starts to fight out, and the follow-up is there. That was the key. Whereas in the BYG series, not only was Hana far behind more often than not, the follow-up also wasn't there from the side of DCG.
But look at Pretender. He has to, for the second time, pop his Emperor's Divide as a defense mechanism. So that's already used when you can't get that big value, and then he's zoned off and can basically just get a little bit of token Sand Soldier poke. This was Deep Cross recognizing exactly what they needed to do in these fights, and I think their talent, their skill, their coordination, and most of all their experience was just going to win out at the end of the day, and we saw that in many different ways. But despite the 3-0, Frank still had some strength. They still showed it. It just wasn't enough when it counted to knock down a Nexus, and that's why we have this clean sweep coming in for Deep Cross Gaming. I think a lot of redemption for them, hope revitalized. They now move forward in the bracket. They'll face the winner of J-Team and PSG tomorrow. I can't wait to see who that's going to be, because now all of a sudden things start to get a little more interesting with Deep Cross finding some strengths for themselves. I think we don't necessarily know where this team stands. From getting 0-3'd to 3-0ing themselves, it's hard to tell.
And DCG, if they maintain this form, they shouldn't have any issues taking the series against either PSG or J-Team, because both of those teams are also fairly hesitant when it comes to just starting out team fights. Saw in the PSG series is really it was all way too slow, right? We talk about the non-stop 90-10. If it's not 90-10, they won't go, but DCG are a team that will take a 70-30 more than willing. And it's on the back of this man, Nest T, yet another MVP, 6-0-9. This Ari pick was just making constant plays, and they had no answer for it.
Not at all. And it looked like Pretender was going to get the better of him in the laning phase, but it was all a ruse to lure him into a false sense of security, setting up that first blood with Hana. Nesty back to back to back on this MVP performance. He is absolutely back, and I think we never should have doubted him. It turns out.
And if we continue on the theory that DCG are screaming CFO, well, maybe that's part of the level up, right? When you're constantly just playing against Mission, eventually you just go, this lane phase sucks. I just have to accept I might just get bodied in these lane phase. I have to find a different way out. So if you're going to find success against CFO, it's about outperforming in the team fights or out roaming Mission. And that's exactly what happened in this series, because Pretender did have the better of them in the lane phase, right?
Yeah, but it just didn't matter, right? And Nesty has never been necessarily noted to be the dominant later. All the same, he was the dominant player with the 3-time MVP, and we're going to be talking to that mastermind of the mid lane after this break, but we'll go ahead and send it that way, so we'll be right back.
Eyes on the road, sky turns to gold. I've seen the sign on the skyline. The urge in my soul, gotta let go. I've had enough of the hard times. Got a taste of the sun, now I gotta reach the horizon. The horizon, yeah. Are you coming along? 'Cause I got the current to guide me. Let it guide me. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. I start anew. Sky turns to blue, waving goodbye to the moon. taste of the sun. Now I gotta reach the horizon, yeah. Are you coming along? 'Cause I got the current to guide me.
Hey guys, I'm Ray Richard, and welcome to the post-match winner interview. Today we've got none other than DCG's mid laner Nesty. Could you introduce yourself, please? 那今天邀请到中路选手雀巢来到采访席，先跟大家打个招呼吧。
大家好，我是 DCG 的中路雀巢。
So, of course, a huge congratulations on getting the win today. I have to ask, how does it feel to get consecutive 3 MVPs? 那首先当然要恭喜 DCG 拿下今天本场的胜利。想问雀巢选手的第一个问题就是今天连续拿下300 MVP，感受如何呢？
还不错吧，因为也都尽力去玩，然后也都玩得蛮好的，拿到也蛮开心的。
He said, of course, the feeling is great. He said that today he put in his all and he put all his effort into the games today. So the fact that he was able to get the MVP in all 3 games, it is a good feeling. So the next question I want to ask is that in game number 3, you pulled out the Ari. Was that your suggestion to pick that sort of pick to meld with the rest of the team composition? Also, you had a mistake in laning phase during the early part of the game, but that didn't stop you from picking up the Quadra in the late game. Can you share with us your thoughts on Ari right now, and also what happened during the laning phase? 那最后一局就是雀巢选手就是拿出了阿里，那是你个人的意见吗？还是说是配合阵容呢？然后前期换血的失误。没有影响到你后期大杀四方，可以分享一下你对阿离现在的看法吗？还有为什么前期换血的时候会出现失误呢？
因为那个阿离就是我蛮自信的吧，然后就直接选了，五选打起来还不错。换血失误，我觉得那个其实是一个玩法吧，就是你用血去推沙皇的线，这样你在第2趟回来的时候会比较舒服。所以那一趟回来之后，我就也没什么输到这样。然后大杀四方，我觉得阿离这角色就是中期比沙皇强吧，然后我也玩得蛮好的。
So he said that Ari for him is a confidence pick. If it's available, he's just going to pick it straight away. Also, I think they 5-picked it as a counter versus the Azure. The team as well as him thinks that that's not a bad strategy and picks and bans. As for what went on during the game, he said that it's kind of one of the ways that you play Ari, where you just swap your health bar for your opponent's mana as well during the laning phase. I think it's wave number 2 or 3. You can kind of play a bit more aggressively like that and then head back to base. You don't really lose out much. And Ari, he thinks that is a stronger champion than Azir, especially towards the mid game. So he doesn't think that it's anything special to be able to pick up the Quadra at that point in the game. So next question, I want to ask about your previous match versus BYG. Do you think that playoffs Minji is a different beast entirely, because we hear a lot about how playoffs Minji is suddenly so much stronger than regular season Minji? Or do you think that your loss that day was more due to DCG's own problems within the teams? 那接下来想聊一下，就是关于前天败给 BYG 的那一场，会觉得季后赛的名字是不同的名字吗？还是说那天就是 DCG 自己的问题会比较多？
那一天的话，我觉得名字还是一样，就是那个名字吧，只是我们自己状态没有很好吧，然后没有打出自己该打出的东西，然后就输了这样。然后被直落，没想到吧，因为感觉我们挺强的。
So he said that he actually thinks that that day when they played versus BYG, he felt that Minji was pretty much the same Minji that they've been playing against during the entire of the regular season. And he thinks that why they lost to BYG was more because DCG weren't able to fully play up to the team's potential. They made mistakes, and he thinks that they wouldn't have lost if they had played to their full capabilities. Also, he thinks that they did not expect to drop to the lower bracket straight away, because he thinks that they were pretty strong in the regular season, so it was really unexpected for them to drop to the LB. So my next question is that a lot of the casters and analysts always say that DCG's early and mid game relies heavily on Nesty. So what do you think about this? And do you feel that the recent patches have helped your individual playstyle? 那直播赛品也有提到，就是 DCG 的前中期就是很靠朝哥的个人表现，你对这有什么想法呢？以及会不会觉得近期的版本很适合雀巢个人的游戏风格？
就是我这个玩法就是比较偏团队嘛，然后我很会去找一些游走的机会或是开团的机会，然后这版也刚好都蛮适合这些中路的吧，所以就玩的特别好这样。版本有差。
So he said that he definitely feels that the recent patches have helped him because he thinks that his individual playstyle is one where he is good at playing fights, but in the early to mid game, he's also always constantly looking for those opportunities to roam and to make stuff happen in the side lanes as well. And then right now, the patch is pretty focused on mid laners, and it also allows him that space to roam. So, of course, it has been very beneficial to him. So my next question is that this is DCG's first time ending top 2 in the regular season, especially after spring season's 4th place finish. So did the team expect to beat CFO and JT so handily this season to end second? 那接下来问题就是关于例行赛的时候，有没有预测到 DCG 会夺第2名吗？尤其是跟春季赛相比的话，你们春季赛的时候，毕竟是拿了第4的排名，然后这赛季却又稳稳的战胜了 CFO 还有台北 J 战队。
那个第2哦，就没想到吧。但我觉得就是自己的发挥有比之前都好很多吧，所以排名有上升，感觉蛮正常。因为我们这队伍就是靠我在前面拿出一点优势嘛，这样。
So he said that they didn't think all that much about whether they would place second or not, but he said that he feels that his own individual performance for summer compared to spring, he said he's playing a lot better right now. His individual condition is better than spring, so it's not too much of a surprise that the team's placement has also risen in relation to that. So I want to ask next, what do you think is the reason then why DCG's regular season performance hasn't carried over to playoffs? 那目前被认为没能维持好状态，你觉得最大的原因会是什么呢？
没错，状态就是从我们自己个人的状态没有就维持的特别好吧，就是选手自己吧。
He says that he feels that individually, he thinks maybe the individual players just haven't been able to maintain just how well they were playing from regular season into playoffs. He thinks it's an individual thing. So next week, you're going to face off versus either PSG or J Team. Which team would you prefer to face off against and why? 那下礼拜要对上 PSG 或台北 J 战队，个人比较看好哪一支战队呢？比较想遇到哪支战队？
我比较看好 PSG 吧，因为 PSG 的中路就应该是第1中路吧，我觉得就都还蛮强的。然后比较想遇到，那肯定是比较想遇到 J Team 嘛，因为都是我以前也待过那边嘛，都是老朋友，然后也想把他们打爆这样。
是这样子对待朋友吗？
没有，就是来打
So
爆。
So he says that he thinks that the better team is PSG because PSG's mid laner is just number 1 in PCS right now, and he's the best mid laner. He said that which team he would rather face. Though he would rather face J Team because he was on J Team previously before, and he's old friends with a lot of the J Team squad. And he says, because of the fact that they're friends and they have that close relationship, he wants to beat them. So the next question I want to ask is then what is DCG's goal for this summer and this year? 那 DCG 在夏季以及今年的目标会是什么呢？
目标肯定也是先出国吧，然后维持好自己的状态，打好之后的每场比赛。
So he said that their goal, of course, is to do well for the summer and to win, and they just want to be able to do well for every single match that they have left going forward. So lastly, I want to ask about Nestie's recent health. Are you feeling better? And also, can you maybe share with all of the audience, maybe like what's going on? 那最后的问题就是想问关于巧哥最近的身体状况，就是现在还好点了吗？然后能够跟观众说一下是什么样的情况，就是让大家能够安心下来。
基本上现在已经好非常多了，相比前几天的话，呼吸都会痛，但现在是好很多了，就不用太担心，有越来越好。
He said that he's getting better day by day. He said that, especially in the last few days, his condition has improved a lot. He says that it still hurts a bit to breathe. He's still coughing, but he's a lot better than he was previously, and there is no reason for everyone to worry about him. Of course, then, thank you so much, Nisty, for the interview. Rest well, and good luck next week. 那好的，非常感谢雀巢选手接受今天的赛后采访，当然也要是 DCG 在下周的比赛加油。拜拜，保重。
Thank you very much, Ririchu, our prediction queen, officially after all of that. And good to hear that Nesty is feeling better after everything. Hope he is able to get some rest up. And he can certainly rest well knowing that they were able to get that 3-0. And regardless of who their opponent's going to be next, Nightstar, I think Deep Cross Gaming have definitely shown that they were not going to be just 2 series now.
Yeah, coming back, responding very with a very strong performance in their second series. Now they'll have another week to sort of get better, right? Whether it's health or just in game. As
yeah, certainly could be both.
Yeah, it will be a tough test ahead of them because it's PSG and J Team are first and third seed. So
yeah, but Deep Cross were number 2, not for nothing, worth keeping in mind. All the same, it gets harder from here on out. They've proved they're still a top 4 squad, but how much farther can they go? Because the entire J-Team universe is still here, Nightstar.
Yeah, it's going to be a battle to see which one might be the last one standing, right? Because it's CFO all the way up in the upper bracket, and PSG, they're going to have to battle through the entirety of the J-Team universe once more if they want to make it back to finals.
Oh boy, it's like they're the protagonist, and it's just different flavors of J-Team. I mean, that's the old story. To be fair, they've all developed some pretty distinct identities that things have gone on. Can't wait to see the J-Team PSG matchup, though. Of course, that one is going to be tomorrow, starting at 5 p.m. local time. And oh boy, after this, we'll just have it down to our final 4, the upper bracket final, CFO, BYG. One of those teams will be going to Worlds. And I'm looking forward to seeing who it's going to be, Nightstar. It was quite a debut for Beyond last time. They didn't quite fulfill the expectations we were hoping for them, but this is a different squad. They have looked a lot better now in this summer split. And CFO, of course, have been red hot. After knocking off PSG once again, they had to do it in 5 games, but I think this team's gone from strength to strength. Whoever takes the crown in the PCS, it's looking oh so good. And our playoffs have been honestly surprising in so many ways, but exciting all at the same time.
Yeah, of course, BYG probably the biggest surprise of this playoffs on a complete tear, ending the season. And for CFO, they've just steadily gotten better and better. And once playoffs hits, it looks like they have timed their peak at the right timing, right? Hopefully it continues because it is Worlds on the line in that next, or I believe, first match of next week.
That is the case indeed, and we're going to have to wait to see that one. But we will be back tomorrow with the PSG J-Team elimination match. You won't want to miss that one. But until then, we're signing off for now. Thanks for watching. Be good to each other.